my very first video on this channel, I took a Raspberry Pi and I made it into a Wi-Fi router. The method that I used in that particular video was utilizing the command line. Now, I know a lot of you are not big fans of the command line, so in this video, I'm going to show you that there is something out there that you can use that has a beautiful graphical user interface that will make your Raspberry Pi into a Wi-Fi router. Interested? Stick around. Let's check it out. Okay, let's get started. So, as I mentioned in the intro, what I'm going to show everybody is an ability to be able to create a Raspberry Pi Wi-Fi router. And what we're going to use is we're going to use RaspAP. Now, in this video, I'm not going to be going through and doing your typical install type of video where you're going to see me typing in commands, you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff going on. So what this is going to be an overview of what RaspAP will do and what type of graphical user interface it will provide. And then I will go and provide my thoughts on what works and what doesn't work, or what's there and what's missing from RaspAP. So if you want to grab it, you just have to go to raspap.com, and then when you're there, just click on the quick start, and there's a couple of different ways that you can grab RaspAP and put it onto your Raspberry Pi or an SD card that's going to eventually go in there. So let's take a look at the actual user interface for this. So I do have off camera my Raspberry Pi that I'm working on it for another project. And so we take a look at the dashboard. It looks very kind of Wi-Fi router-ish sort of type of interface. And so the dashboard is your common spot that you can go and look at key information and have some links going to whatever portions of the setup on the RaspAP. Okay, so, but what I'm going to dive into, I'm going to take a look at the hotspot. So the first thing is it comes up as basic settings. And so what this is the settings for the Wi-Fi access point portion of the RaspAP. Now, it will detect the interfaces that are on your particular device. And in this device, I have two Wi-Fi devices. So the WLAN 0 is the built-in wireless NIC card that's on the actual Raspberry Pi itself. And then WLAN 1 is an external adapter that I'm going to be using for my access point on the Raspberry Pi. So my clients are going to connect up to that particular radio. Now, I don't know why they have ETH0 in here. I haven't done any research on it, but if you do know, please leave a comment below. I'm curious to see why the RaspAP team put ETH0 here as a part of the hotspot. Okay. We have our typical Wi-Fi router type of thing, so we could set our SSID, we could set up our channel. Now, when it comes down to the wireless mode, it does support everything from 802.11a all the way up to 802.11be. But the thing we've got to remember with this is that we have to have the correct interface. So we have to have the correct NIC in there. So I've got an 802.11ac NIC in my Raspberry Pi off camera, but it will still show AX and BE. And so I know that this adapter that I have won't support these. Okay. So one of the things I hope, if the RaspAP team is watching, hey guys, great job. But couple of pointers. Could you put in here the ability that whatever interface is plugged in, it'll only show what it supports. Okay. Now, what will happen if you were to select one of these that your adapter doesn't support? Well, it's simple. I'm just going to go ahead and select one. I'll do BE. Okay. So I just selected BE. I'm going to click on Save Settings. I'm going to restart the hotspot. It's going to go through and restart all the services. And guess what? Boom. The host APD is down. So what it means is that it just doesn't support it. So I'm going to put it back into AC, which my external NIC does support. Save settings. I'm going to start the hotspot. and it's back up again. Okay, so we got WLAN 1 up and running, and it's ready for some further configurations. All right. So the next thing we want to take a look at, as always, we want to look at security. And so with security, it does support everything from none, which is an open network, which is not recommended. I know that there's hotspots out there that will use open authentication, but if you're going to be using this for anything like at home or lab or some sort of telemetry, you want to have some sort of security on it. So it does everything from WPA all the way up to WPA2 and 3. It's even got a transition mode, okay? Now, one of the things that it does not have is it does not support the enterprise security types. So what are enterprise security types? These are your higher level security that utilizes 802.1x port-based authentication. And so what that entails is the use of authentication servers, like such as a Radius server or a combination of Radius server, LDAP, that could be done in, for example, a Windows server. So it does not have that capability. So what does this mean? Well, you won't be using this in an enterprise environment if your IT has been set up to utilize 802.1x port-based authentication, okay? So it also supports 802.1w for protected management frames. You could set it for disabled, required, or enabled to those clients that do support it. And of course, it's because it uses personal for security. Pre-shared key, or otherwise known as the Wi-Fi password, is where you can enter it here. Now, something else that they do provide here is a QR code that you can scan with your phone or whatever, or you can print to put on a sign for users. Now, I'm not necessarily a big fan of this QR code, and the reason for that is that what happens if it gets into the wrong hands? So it's up to you. It's based upon your security stature. But for me, I personally would not want to have this printed on a piece of paper that anybody and their dog can connect up to your Wi-Fi. Okay. Now let's skip to the advanced. Now there's a couple of things here that the RaspAP is doing here in the advanced settings. First of all, we could put this into bridged mode. And so what bridge mode means is that we can use another Wi-Fi interface on the Raspberry Pi to connect up to another access point for our backhaul. So our LAN connection to the connection to the rest of the network. So to skip a little bit over to the Wi-Fi client, if we notice up at the top, it says WLAN 0 is down. It's because we don't have it configured, and WLAN 1 is being used for the BSSID / access point aspects of our Raspberry Pi. Now, the Wi-Fi client portion is to do WDS and to do that wireless backhaul, okay? And so once again, it will scan for various different access points that are around, but we have to also remember it does not do enterprise, okay? It only does the personal, so WPA, WPA2, WPA3 personal, okay? Even though there is a couple of these in here, I'm going to be blurring them out. But there's a couple of them in here that I do know that they're enterprise, but they think it just provides the ability to say, hey, just provide a passphrase, okay? So very limited in what it can do on that particular security sense. So as well, we can select the power. Now, the maximum amount of clients, it says here the default, the maximum is 2007. Now, a little bit of a talk with regards to using a Raspberry Pi and making it into a Wi-Fi router. It's all dependent upon how much horsepower the actual Raspberry Pi has. So there's various different models of Raspberry Pi out there that have various different CPUs. They have various amounts of RAM on the board itself. So the more CPU power, the more RAM, the more clients it's going to be able to support, okay? Now, will it support 2007? I don't have 2007 devices out around. There's a lot of high-end commercial Wi-Fi access points that won't be able to support 2007 devices. So if you have run some experiments with this and had a big number, put in the comments and say how many devices it will support that from based upon your test. But for me, I don't believe that a Raspberry Pi will support 2007 wireless clients themselves. Okay. The country code, make sure you put the proper country code in here in order to operate in the area having jurisdiction. Also as well too, a little bit of a note, when you do set up your Raspberry Pi, still go into the RaspAPI config to configure your country in there as well. Those two don't necessarily give you the same answer. Okay. So make sure, for me, I'm in Canada. I made sure that both of them are in Canada. So I'm able to operate to what the rules and regulations here in this country. Okay, so that's essentially the hotspot aspects of our Raspberry Pi being a Wi-Fi router. Now, it is a router, so as a part of the things that it will also do as well, it does have a DHCP server. One of the things I did find is that you can set up separate DHCP servers for different interfaces, which can be okay, but a lot of our wireless routers that are out there will have a DHCP server, but only spit out one subnet, a group of subnets or group of addresses. So here you can actually set it per interface. So you can have different IP address ranges per interface. So I don't know what would happen if you were to take and put all of your starting and ending IP addresses for all of the interfaces. If you've tried it, put in the comments. Let's see what happens with that. Okay. So the next things that I'm going to talk about are going to be more router type as well. So we do have the ability to do ad blocking. We also have OpenVPN and WireGuard built in. Now, I do remember when I did set up my Raspberry Pi, it asked me if I wanted OpenVPN and WireGuard to be installed because I ran it through the installation script. But one of the things that I've noticed in here is that the actual firewall itself, so if we come into system and plugins, is actually not activated by default, which is a little abnormal. So, so it's just as simple as just coming into system plugins, click on details, and click on install now, and it will install IP tables for the RaspAP. Okay. Now, with these plugins, there's some plugins like the firewall is free, but there's some that are not free. So if we take an example of Wireshark, so if we want to put the capabilities to do packet captures on our Raspberry Pi, so then all we have to do is we come into details and we'll notice that it's only available to or available with insiders. And what insiders is the RaspAP team. This is their way of generating revenue for the project. So if I remember right, going through here, well, the entry level membership and that will give you access to a lot of these plugins. Okay, so I'll put the link below for you to check out the Insiders program and help out the RaspAP group. Okay, so in a nutshell, that is RaspAP. So here are some of my thoughts when it comes down to using RaspAP as a Wi-Fi router or Wi-Fi access point. So RaspAP, the user interface is really good. It's got your typical features and functions that you need in order for it to be a Wi-Fi router, comparable to some of your lower end or medium end Wi-Fi routers you'll pick up at your local box store or your favorite .com website. It's got ad blocking. It's got the capabilities of doing VPN and WireGuard coming into it, which I think is really good. You could put the firewall onto it. It's not defaulted, so you have to put it in. There are some good things with regards to it. Some of the things that are missing, doesn't support enterprise, okay? And so that might be a big one out there. It's not going to support, in my opinion, okay? I haven't tested it. This is unscientific, but in my opinion, 2007 clients, Wi-Fi clients into a Raspberry Pi. I don't know about that. So also as well too, I did notice when we go into our hotspot and we go into advanced that we don't have the ability to set the bandwidth. Okay, so the channel sizes. So a lot of your Wi-Fi routers that you would go buy will give you that ability. So on 2.4, it might say 20 or 40 megahertz channels, 5 gigahertz, everywhere, anywhere from 20 to 80, and so on and so forth. So here it doesn't give you that ability. So through some of my tests that I've done, I noticed that if I set it to 802.11a, it's a 20 megahertz channel. But if I set it to 802.11ac, it's an 80 megahertz channel. So it'd be kind of cool to have the ability to kind of set the channels in there like you would see, like I mentioned, in other type of Wi-Fi routers out there. Well, that's it. I hope this helps out. Like I said, this is supposed to be an overview to show you that yes, you can have a Raspberry Pi as a Wi-Fi router slash access point, but using a graphical user interface. So, hey, if this helped you out, please make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe and hit the bell notification. So that will tell you when the next GreyBeard video comes out. And I look forward to seeing you then. Take care. Peace.